In the 3 years we've known each other, we've had our moments. I don't think I've been this mad for a whole extended period of a week. But when I came in today about this Talk exclusive that the boys have done so and the ladies have done so well on, I'm really speechless, mate. This truth that because there's so many bad optics about putting migrants in hotels, £8 million a day, government is pressurising councils to move these people out of hotels. So stupid councils, right, have come up with the idea that they're going to say to landlords, there's 6 months' rent in cash, probably tax-free, I don't know. We'll do a refurb of your house, all of which will be paid by the council tax rise that we promised not to give to the poor Brits who are struggling. They'll move in, we'll look good. 2 questions for you. 1, what the hell does that do to the British rental market? Because you and I both know how difficult it is to get on the property ladder for the younger generation. And B and 2, right, really good point from a man just now. Love to know from Reform Night, if you can get a quote, Aaron, why have I called him Aaron? Why is he called Aaron? Ryan, if you can get a quote, blimey, that's a blast in the past. If you can get a quote from Reform, I'd love to. But do you think Reform would tell their councils to ignore this? Is this something that can be ignored? But in terms of Brits, in terms of, the Home Office said, we have a statutory duty to support destitute asylum seekers. What about Brits, Peter Cardwell?
Well, this is outrageous. It's a really stupid policy, and it will put further pressure on the rental market, which is really bad. They're saying, oh, we're going to end the hotels policy by the end of the Parliament. Well, you're just going to shift the problem elsewhere. Yeah. Unless you sort out the fact that there are processing problems, that there are people coming across in boats and they're not being processed quickly enough, and the fact that there are councils that just don't have the resources here. They're shoving people into hotels at the expense of taxpayers, at the expense of people putting their council tax up. It's ridiculous. There are councils where more than half the council tax that people are paying is actually going on pensions for former council employees. Now you're looking at this as well. And if you have asylum seekers who are living in your council area, you are paying for them, whether they're in hotels or whether they're being moved into much needed social housing. The fact is that there are loads of people born here in this country who cannot get in the property ladder, whether that's social housing, whether they're waiting for somewhere to live, or whether they've been working and are trying to get to the private rental market, which is being shrunk by this. If you're a landlord, this is a really attractive offer. Do up your property, get the money, have guaranteed rent. These people are going to be there for some time to come, 6 months in advance. Lots of landlords will want that because they won't care who's in there. Other people, and I actually know the owner of a small hotel who was told, look, for 7 years, we can sign a contract here and today where every single room you have in your small hotel will be occupied for the next 7 years, guaranteed 365 days a year with asylum seekers. He very bravely and very nobly said, no, that's not fair. I don't want that, and turned down an awful lot of that money. I'm not sure there'll be too many landlords who will turn this down, and they will want people in there, they'll want that guaranteed income. And the problem is that the guaranteed income doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from taxpayers paying their council tax. It's not fair. If Reform UK say they're going to reverse this, well, there's a political opportunity. But every time the government says, oh, we're going to shut down those hotels, well, those people have to go somewhere.
But then you're really calm, you're really professional. I love the bones of you, right? But that's not that's not answering the question. The question is to stop them bloody well coming here in the first place. And I don't understand. I don't understand at what point this government, the government before, all politicians think that the British people's patience is it's going to crack. You can't say to people, go to work, pay your tax, don't break the law, don't ask for a handout, keep your kids off the street, teach them the street right and wrong. But while you're doing all that and struggling, and I mean struggling, right, we're going to wipe the backsides of other people. And I know people say, you say it every day, Jess, but the fact of the matter is, at a point, hard-working, law-abiding Brits are going to go, why do I live my life correctly, Pete? Because I don't get anything for doing it.
Absolutely right, Jeremy. There is no reward for doing the right thing. No. The only reward for doing the right thing, for getting up in the morning, going to work, doing all those things you just mentioned there, the only reward for that is, right, we'll take more of your tax then. We'll take more tax. You earn more money, you earn over a certain threshold, we'll take even more tax. You do well, we'll take even more tax. There are people who are earning what used to be seen as good amounts of money. People earning, the average wage in this country is £36,500 a year. There are people earning that. There are people earning £50,000 who, dual income homes where you're into 70, 80, 90 plus £1,000 a year, where people are still struggling to afford a home, afford a good home, send their kids to even state schools. And I mean, there are so many people who are working so hard and getting nothing back, and there are people who are doing absolutely nothing who are getting everything.
So I ask you as a political, I call you nerd, but you know what I mean. Are you telling me that these politicians cannot sense, feel or smell that that is the feeling in this country? Do they not care? Do they not want a job in 5 years' time? Because the British people are so I think, so backed up with the unfairness of what's going on that they will speak. And whether it's reform or another, I think we're watching, somehow, in my own way, the British people realising finally that their voice is quite important.
Yes, they are, and we're seeing that already. We're seeing that in the council elections, we're seeing that in by-elections, we're seeing that with the polls that are out there. People are really unhappy with this government. Where they go in a few years' time, I'm not so sure. I'm not entirely sure Nigel Farage will be Prime Minister. He may well be, but certainly there's a lot of anger out there. There's a lot of people looking for an alternative, and there is Reform UK, which has come from kind of nowhere to be, in the polls anyway, the biggest party in this country. So there's an awful lot of people who are voting with their feet, a lot of people who just aren't happy with the Labour government. They'll always have some sort of vote. The Conservatives will always have some sort of vote, but things are really volatile at the moment. And stories like this, examples like this, are people saying, hold on a second, that's not fair. And when you get
ludicrous.
Down to
it's ludicrously unfair. It's imbalanced.
Yeah, I mean, previously we used to have ideas, should we go to war in Iraq? Well, I'm going to vote Labour, or I'm not going to vote Labour. Should we think about the economy of this country more generally? That's fine, but when it comes down to basic issues of fairness, well, then people get angry and they say, actually, hold on a second, not going to put up with this anymore.
Do you know what I love about you? Many things. A basic fairness that is exactly right, because I think that many people are thinking, I live correctly and it's not fair. People live not correctly and are treated better. Yeah. Great to have you on, pal. Drive time tomorrow from 4. What can we expect? I mean, you surpassed yourself, really. You had Starmer a couple of weeks ago. I mean, what you got tomorrow? Jesus Christ.
Well, not Jesus Christ, no. But although I am looking rather angelic today, no, it's John Bolton is going to be with us, the former cabinet member of George W. Bush, and indeed Donald Trump, and lots of other exciting guests.
Excellent. I love the light behind. You should have turned it round so it showed your face, not your bum.